Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Pierre, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Quarry, Season 1, Episode 5. It's called Coffee Blues. Full spoilers for the episode will follow. So obviously we loved Episode 4. Episode 4 was like a masterclass in television for an hour.
Yeah.
And part of me was concerned, like how could they live up to last week? How could they follow that up? And I
Mm.
think they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I don't think this was actively as good an episode as four and maybe even three, but it was a very good episode of TV still.
See, you sound even more negative than you should, because
This thing, I don't feel negative. I just feel like I think I preferred three and four as episodes,
I
but
like
this is still very good.
I like this more than three.
Right, okay.
I think four was such a self-contained thing that had a beginning, middle, and end. That it wasn't going to keep getting better after that. It had to plateau a
That's
little bit.
probably the peak, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it might not be the peak. It could peak higher again, but it's not going to do it twice in a row. It's not going to,
Yeah.
keep peaking week after week. It's impossible. There has to be a bit of give. But what was really impressed me during this one is there were several times in this episode that I felt incredibly tense, like
Yeah,
really
definitely.
uncomfortable and worried for characters' safety. And it's especially impressive given that a lot of this episode isn't even like a tense plot. A lot of it is actually kind of the downtime, and that's in context, but also just as an episode, it's both downtime and for both the characters and for us.
Yeah, it's a bit of a breather.
So this one picks up a month after the events of the last episode. We've jumped a little bit ahead in time, and the broker's not came to Cinemax since everything went down at the motel, but he shows up here. Although before we get to that, I do want to mention the opening scene.
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 minutes of no dialogue as an opening of the episode. I thought it was quite impressive.
Yeah, there was eventually. I mean, the whole scene wasn't without dialogue, but yeah, there was like 2 or 3 minutes at the start where all they're doing is making the bed.
Yeah.
And again, it was all very symbolic. They're putting a new sheet on the bed, even though it's a month later, so it doesn't really mean anything in context of the characters. But to us, they're putting a new sheet in the bed. They're replacing the old one, and
Yeah, I always think it's a brave choice though. Whenever any show or anything has that long without dialogue at the start of an episode, because I think it's fine for us, but I think a lot of people it will see a long stretch of silence and maybe not appreciate it enough.
see, I feel the complete opposite. I think TV characters, generally speaking, talk far too much.
No, I agree. I'm just saying that's what you're accustomed to, so it's what people tend to do because it's what people expect. So when people don't do it, it's unconventional and therefore a bit of a bold move.
It shouldn't be though.
It shouldn't be, but it is.
But no, so again, changing the sheet and the mattress is like the one he ripped to shreds. So there's like duct tape all over the damn thing to hold it together. So again, very symbolic. Rocky marriage, but they're putting on a new sheet and
Covering
obviously,
up the problems and just hoping you can't see them.
which isn't really true. They actually have confronted their problems, but yeah.
Yeah.
But no, nice opening scene again. The show's done a really good job with the opening scenes. It's really been setting the mood every episode, and this one certainly started happier. I was actually during the opening scene, I was convinced Joni was going to die soon. Maybe not in this episode,
Hmm.
but they just seemed too happy. Like, where's the conflict for Mac if his married life is this stable? Like,
That's true.
I'm almost convinced that some bad guy is going to have to kill her now just so that he can have like this vengeance plot or something. I don't know. But then again, the show keeps surprising me with what it does. So
Yeah, I don't think there's any point in predicting this anymore because we're just going to be wrong.
yeah, that's very, very, very true. So the broker shows up and takes him on a journey, and obviously when they get to the location, it's fine. But the entire journey there, it's tense as all hell because you don't know if the broker is actually leading him out to his death. Like there's certainly that undertone because he starts talking about death as well. He starts talking about how it's like a switch flipping off like Mac did a couple of episodes ago, and
Yeah.
it like the whole thing, and it's very well shot. It's all like the screen's almost completely dark, but you just see the lights of the car moving.
Yeah, and there's this idea that they're clearly heading out to the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, because they start going through trees, and it's like so the whole thing very very tense. But then when they get there, it turns out to be like a gambling sort of
Makeshift casino
yeah,
thing.
it's like a makeshift casino in a bunch of different houses
Mm.
kind of thing, and the broker's just there to, at least as he claims, to have a good time, have a relax for the night, and he gives Max some chips so that he can bet on things as well, and there's a lot of just kind of them just playing games, and I mean Mac does get into that one fight with the guy, and there's that really funny scene where the broker, because Max looks saying, okay, why are we really here? Because he's convinced there's like a ulterior motive, and the broker says, see that guy over there, the fat guy, yeah, I want you to kill him, but just before you do it, you have to ask him where he bought those pants.
It's a lot of fun.
And Mac's reaction to that was funny in and of itself, but then when he gets up to kill him, the broker just has to stop him and starts laughing. So there's a lot of good stuff there. But that said, the broker does have a lot of business there because he sneaks off at one point for
Because of course he does.
for a meeting with, I think, a Chinese criminal of some kind, because there's a translator, and we get this really creepy bit. It almost sounds like a horror movie for like a
It
couple of
feel,
minutes.
Do you know, it really reminds me of like a cult, like Eyes Wide Shut.
I
So
guess, but it's creepier than that because it's these like there's these characters who show up in these like Chinese masks,
yeah,
and like one appears right in front of where Max like sort of peeking through the crack in the door, and then like another one appears like just down a hallway on the other side of the staircase, and it's like it does feel like a horror movie for like just a minute, 2 minutes.
yeah. You just don't know what's gonna happen here.
Yeah. So that's that, and plus we also see that at the end, Carl actually we don't see Carl all episode, but at the end of the episode, he's there and he's following this fat guy, implying that even though it was just a joke before, maybe the broker does actually want him dead.
Yeah, I think it was more a test for the broker as well as having some fun. He was seeing how far has he got Quarry now? Like, is it to a point where he can just say, "Go kill that guy," and he'll do it?
Apparently, it is.
Yeah.
That said, though, still seems like a very reasonable man. Like when he drops him off at the end of the episode, he like, oh, you owe me 20 grand now because 4 for the peg leg that you killed last episode, and I'll pay you £1,000 for spending the night at the casino, and So again, the show keeps like showing that he's not your typical, because we're so used to these types of characters like screwing the people over and playing with their own rules and like stretching it and
You
always
just
wanting more.
expect him to extort more at every
Yeah.
turn,
But
and it's just not.
he keeps like living up to what he said he'd like pay him off for, but then also giving him these extra things if he does something else.
Yeah, because I think the other 1,000 was the hazard pay one, right?
Yeah, the hazard pay. Yeah.
I was like, okay, I get that. That makes sense. This one, like, obviously, Max confused, understandably. He's like, hang on, that didn't seem like work. I didn't do anything.
Yeah. But no,
Which makes me wonder just how dangerous was that meeting he was in there for? Like, what could have gone wrong? Because presumably that's why Mac was there.
See, you say that, but I don't necessarily think so, because, like, what good was Mac? Like, he just happened to go and eavesdrop. Like, what good was Mac if he was just one? Because he didn't tell him where he was going. He just disappeared for like an hour or whatever it was. Mac, could have been another end of the casino, none the wiser.
That's true.
So I feel like Mac being there was for all the other reasons, maybe to test him, maybe to see where he is with Joni, because obviously the broker will be curious as to how much she knows, and that conversation does come up, and Mac kind of dances his way around it. There's a nice little symbolic thing, because we have a very upbeat ending with Mac where he tries the butter in the coffee.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with this?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, this was new to me as well. I've never seen anyone do this.
It was like, I was like, what's he doing? Like, this is strange.
I would try it if I didn't already hate coffee.
But would it be sweeter with butter? I mean,
Well,
or just
presumably,
be-
yeah.
yeah. It's such a weird. I don't understand it.
I guess, I mean, that's dairy, so it's not a million miles away from putting milk in a
It's
hot
not, but
drink.
why not just put milk in? What's wrong with milk and sugar?
Well, butter gives it a different thickness, different texture. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But,
Just seems strange.
but yeah, what do you think that ending meant? No, him trying that.
Well, obviously it was something he was unwilling to try before. Maybe not unwilling to try, but maybe he was clearly against the idea of it before. So it's like a broadening horizon sort of thing. So it's I'm not sure if it's in context of him and Joni or him with the broker. Like, is he willing to do more for him, or is it a case of okay, you know what's going on now, so let's kind of we're in this together. So I'll try some of your stuff.
Hmm, maybe.
You got any ideas?
There's definitely some sort of symbolic thing going on there. It means something, and I feel like you're kind of dancing along the lines I think it is, but I feel it is more about because the broker's kind of grooming him, right?
Yeah.
And while I think the broker is true to his word in that once he pays off this 20 grand, he's free to go. I do think he's grooming him to be like a permanent
Yeah, so
member.
by the time he gets through that, he won't want to leave.
Yeah, and I think him trying this drink this way, putting the butter in the coffee, is him being tempted to stick around, like him getting used to the way he does things, him getting used to his lifestyle, that kind of thing.
Mm. Okay,
Yeah,
makes sense.
it's showing a comfort that he's now feeling with him.
Yeah, yeah, that
So,
does make sense.
which is a contrast to earlier in the episode when they're in the car and like Max clearly thinking of maybe getting taken out there to get killed because I mean you can
Yeah.
see it in his face, and we're definitely thinking it. So that would be my read on it. Now the other main plot of this episode though is so we mentioned in episode 1 or 2, I think it was episode 2 maybe, that these schools are going to start mixing the white and black kids come January, and it's the kind of thing where it was mentioned in that episode, but I
I
didn't
think we'll
necessarily
see
see
more of it.
get this whole plot out of it. So Ruth's son is on the school bus, and it's a school bus with nothing but black kids and the black driver. So it's obviously going to a black school because it's not obviously the changeover's not happened yet, and essentially a an army of racist white dads stop the bus and start smashing in the windows. And one of the guys, the leader, the especially racist one, comes on and starts telling them, spewing racial language and telling them to tell their parents to not let them go to.
This is after he smacks the driver with a crowbar.
That is also true. Yes, that is a very good point. He smacks the driver with a crowbar, and he gives a speech to the kids, and the whole thing is incredibly like my stomach was uneasy during this entire scene.
It was so uncomfortable.
Yeah, everything about it was awful. And see, my cat's even agreeing with me. Everything about it was
Yeah,
awful.
it was the way it was shot as well because we were just focused in on the kid's face and
Yeah,
we weren't really seeing the guy was out of focus. We could see him behind walking back and forth and giving his speech, but we weren't looking at him. We were watching the kid and his fear.
yeah. It's that thing where the whole time we feel what the kid feels.
Yeah.
It's like we don't know where this is going, what's going to happen, and then of course that one other kid eventually says something. He doesn't even say anything particularly bad. He just says maybe you should listen to your friend.
Who are
And
saying to go because the police
yeah,
will be coming.
and the racist guy grabs him, takes him outside, and beats the crap out of him with a crowbar. And again, everything about it is painfully uncomfortable to watch. It is
Yeah.
stomach churning.
Like even the white guys outside are looking a bit uncomfortable at this development.
Yeah, they were all for stopping them from coming to the same school as their kids, but
Yeah, and they were smashing in the windows. I don't think they even wanted to get on the bus because they were like, "Come
yeah,
on, we've got to get out of here."
yeah. But then
They just wanted to scare them a bit.
this one guy was full on, KKK time, like
Yeah.
type of guy. So incredibly, incredibly uncomfortable and very tense. But then after that, there's also a scene where Joni's coming to babysit because Ruth has to go out, and Also, actually, I loved before Mac leaves to go on this little journey to the casino. You see them talking about it. Like Mac and Johnny have found out about it, and Mac's like, "Oh, I should have been driving them to school every day." Like, taking he feels like he's to blame in a way because he should have been looking out for them every single day because he
Yeah.
feels that responsibility, which obviously is a little bit ridiculous. But at the same time, you get why he feels this way.
Yeah, it's the idea that he feels like he's been selfish with the stuff that he's been doing for the broker and worrying about himself, that he hasn't been helping out his friends.
Yeah. So I like that reaction. But so Johnny goes over to Ruth's house, and she gets out of the car, and you can see like three figures like down the street walking in the direction. And the funny thing is at the time you couldn't really tell what race they were, and I assumed it was white people. I thought we were about to witness white people coming into a black neighborhood and causing more trouble,
Mm. Okay.
and maybe like have a problem with Johnny because Johnny's there to not do that.
Yeah.
She's there to be a friend to someone. But then the other two black guys come from the other direction and they start harassing Johnny because obviously this whole thing with the school bus has caused a lot of tension. There's a lot of racial tension going on, as you'd expect after that. And Ruth has to come out and sort of intermediate and shout the guys off. But no. And Johnny uses a bit of hide and seek to try and find the money in the house.
A bit of a sneaky rummage,
Yeah.
but she's not very good at it.
She finds the bag that the money came in, but not the money itself.
Yeah, but she gets caught pretty quickly.
Yeah. Ruth's son is on the ball. He's
Yeah,
there.
it's like, what on earth are you doing? Go and sit down.
Yeah. Also, I want to point out that there's another mention of the whole school thing in the scene with Mac's dad. When he's selling the house, he mentions to the white family, "Oh, you've got three kids. You should know that come January, the schools will be the same as they are now. You should keep that in mind." Which, again, really slimy, really, uncomfortable to hear.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it is.
And it's funny because when this was first brought up, and Ruth herself wasn't sure if it was a good idea, and we said how that was kind of interesting to see, like that back then when this was happening, that a black person might feel that way, like maybe this isn't a good idea.
We assumed they'd be all for it and just be like, yeah, of course,
Yeah.
this is what they'd want, like equality.
Yeah, but then you see this and you're like, okay, maybe they're just worried of all of the conflict and abuse that it's going to cause. And it's like, obviously, in the long run, it was the right move. It was obviously the right move. But the transitional period is not easy to live through.
Yeah, this episode highlighted and it showed, understanding that why they were uncomfortable with the idea from both sides. Well, obviously, maybe we don't understand the white people; they're just being racist.
Yeah, it's just been awful.
But
And
we understand from the black side that they are uncomfortable because they're worried.
and,
It's
and
that
of
fear.
course, it's worth remembering this is set in Memphis, which is in the South, and I think that's important to remember. You're in the more racist half of the US.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but no, all that stuff was incredibly gut wrenching, and like I say, that moment in the street when Johnny gets out of a car and you see those guys like walking down the street, tension. So
Because you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how they're going to react.
and it was doing it. It was so, like I say, the episode as a whole wasn't like the main plot with Mac for the most part was pretty jovial for the that's what it was. But there was all these little moments like just peppered throughout. With him at the start, with other characters throughout on the school bus with Johnny, but there was all these little moments where when it got tense, it properly got tense, even if it was just for
Absolutely.
10 seconds. So, no, the show's still really impressive, and I am looking forward to seeing where it goes next because it's interesting. We're at a point now where we're 5 episodes in out of 8 episodes, and I feel like there's not an ongoing plot right now for the whole season. I feel like we've wrapped up. Like him and Johnny are like united again.
Yeah, it's at a point where I have no idea what they're going to do for the last 3 episodes. Like, I
Yeah.
couldn't even begin to think what it'll be.
But we got so much content out of the first 4 that I'm convinced that it'll be a complete story.
I think
whatever it is.
it might be to do with the police because obviously we had the guy, the first guy he killed, his is it sister?
Yeah. Johnny's like, the one she was cheating on with his sister's
Yeah.
like the cop goes to see her and just asks her if she's heard of Joni, and that's pretty much it. All we really get a sense of is that he's still kind of looking. You know, it's funny because back when I guessed there was a detective character, because in the
I
first
thought
episode,
it'd be much more than this.
yeah, I thought it would be more of a detective angle to it, investigating them, and whereas it's really just been like one scene, maybe two scenes per episode.
Which is why I feel like maybe now there's enough that this last stretch is we'll get to do with that side of things, and it'll come back around.
I feel like if I was, I don't know why I'm guessing anything because I've been getting it wrong repeatedly, but if I was to guess how the season's going to end, I would say that the cop thing will be wrapped up because the broker maybe will step in, and combined with the fact that Mac's starting to get a taste for the lifestyle, that'll like unite them. Like, because you remember in this episode, actually Mac even says he thinks the broker set up that, you know, the asshole at the table
Yeah.
to get, you know, that whole thing where we unite over a common enemy. You know, like maybe that'll happen for real and like on a much bigger scale with the cop.
Possibly. I actually don't think the cop will go after Mac at all.
You don't know?
I think he'll get it wrong, and he'll think it was Joni who he'll figure that they were lovers and that, you know, they had an argument or something, and he'll think it was her, and she'll be the one like going to prison, and that's what'll be the not instead of her dying, that'll be the bad thing that's happening. They'll be like separated because of that. And obviously he'll have to deal with the guilt of knowing that it was his crime that's got her the punishment.
Well, the cat wants me to wrap up, so I think that's a good as time as any. So that's been Quarry episode 5. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out a lot. Get us on Twitter at @meld_fuzz. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and yeah, spread the word about Quarry because more people need to be watching it. So thanks very much, guys. We'll see you next time.